"Mom, please pack our bags. I'm scared of Dad." The words, a reedy whisper barely audible through her choked sobs, hit Sarah like a physical blow. Her 13-year-old daughter, Lily, stood in the entryway, her usually bright, curious eyes swollen and red-rimmed, her face blotchy with unshed tears. Her school bag lay forgotten on the floor, its contents spilling out. A wave of icy dread washed over Sarah. 2 hours ago, her husband, Mark, had kissed her goodbye, his usual confident smile in place as he departed for a week-long business trip to London. He was the epitome of success, a brilliant architect, a devoted father, and a charming presence in their tight-knit community. Their life, by all appearances, had been a picture of serene perfection. So why had Lily suddenly said she was scared of her father? "Lily, darling, what's wrong?" Sarah rushed to her, kneeling to embrace her trembling child. Lily clung to her mother, burying her face in Sarah's shoulder, her body racked with silent sobs. Sarah stroked her daughter's hair, her mind racing through a dozen possibilities. A school conflict, a bad grade, a social drama. But none of them fit the profound, bone-deep terror radiating from Lily. Scared of Dad? Mark? The man who patiently helped Lily with her complex math homework, who discussed current events with her, who always made time for her interests? It was incomprehensible. "Scared of Dad?" Sarah repeated, her own voice trembling now. "What do you mean, sweetie? Did something happen at school?" Lily shook her head, tears streaming anew. "No, just please, Mom. We have to go. I'm scared." Her gaze was fixed on something beyond Sarah, something unseen but clearly terrifying. Sarah knew, with a chilling certainty, that this was not a teenage drama or a simple misunderstanding. There was a raw, primal fear in Lily's eyes that demanded immediate action. Without another word, Sarah scooped Lily into her arms. The cottage, usually a sanctuary, suddenly felt like a trap. Her mind instinctively sought the one place she knew would offer unconditional safety and solace: her mother's house. Grandma Eleanor lived a quiet life in a charming old farmhouse nestled among the rolling hills of the Flemish countryside, a place where troubles seemed to dissipate in the warm embrace of her wisdom and kindness. The drive was a blur. Sarah gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white, glancing anxiously at Lily in the rear-view mirror. Lily sat unusually still, clutching a small, worn teddy bear, her gaze fixed on the passing scenery but seeing nothing. The silence in the car was heavy, punctuated only by Sarah's ragged breaths and the distant hum of the engine. She tried to coax more information from Lily, but the child remained unresponsive, lost in her own silent terror. The video began with a shot of Mark's study, the room usually so pristine and organized. The camera, clearly hidden, was positioned discreetly, capturing a corner of the room. Mark entered the frame, not the composed, charming man Sarah knew, but a figure utterly consumed. He was pacing, his movements jerky and agitated. He wasn't on a phone call. He was talking to himself, his voice a low, guttural murmur that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. "They don't understand," he muttered, running a hand through his hair, his eyes darting around the room as if addressing an invisible audience. "They never understand. The pressure. The constant pressure." His voice escalated, becoming sharper, laced with a venomous self-loathing. "You're a failure, Mark. A pathetic, miserable failure. You can't even get this right." Sarah's breath hitched. This wasn't Mark. This was a stranger, a twisted reflection of the man she loved. Her eyes widened in horror as the video continued. Mark stopped pacing, his gaze falling on a small, ornate letter opener on his desk. He picked it up, his fingers tracing the sharp edge. Sarah's stomach lurched. Then, with a sudden, violent movement, he brought the tip of the letter opener down onto his forearm, dragging it across his skin. A thin line of red welled up, stark against his pale skin. He repeated the motion, again and again, each cut shallow but deliberate, a perverse ritual. His face was contorted, a mixture of pain and a strange, almost detached satisfaction. He continued to murmur to himself, a stream of harsh, self-deprecating words that were utterly chilling. Sarah gasped, a strangled sound that caught in her throat. Her hands flew to her mouth, stifling a scream. the world tilted on its axis, the perfect life she had meticulously built, the perfect husband she had adored, shattered into a million irreparable pieces before her eyes. Her legs gave way, and she slumped onto the sofa, Eleanor's arm instantly wrapping around her. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered, tears blurring her vision. "Oh my God." The video continued for several more minutes, showing Mark's disturbing descent, his self-inflicted wounds, his tortured monologue. Lily, nestled against Eleanor, watched her mother's reaction, her face etched with a profound sadness that belied her years. She had seen this before. She had known. When the video finally ended, the silence in the room was deafening, broken only by Sarah's ragged breathing. Her mind reeled, trying to process the horrifying images. Mark, her Mark, was capable of this? The charming, composed man who captivated everyone he met was secretly battling such a dark, self-destructive force. The thought was unbearable. A wave of nausea washed over her. How had she not seen it? Had there been signs? She cast her mind back, searching for clues, for moments she might have dismissed or explained away. The occasional withdrawn silences, the sudden bursts of irritability quickly masked by an apology. The faint, almost imperceptible scars she'd sometimes glimpsed on his forearms, always attributed to clumsiness or a mishap at the office. She had been so blinded by her love, by the image of perfection they presented to the world, that she had willfully ignored the whispers of doubt. The betrayal was a bitter taste in her mouth, but it was quickly overshadowed by a fierce, protective rage, not just for herself, but for Lily. Her daughter had witnessed this, had carried this terrifying secret alone. How long had she known? How long had she been living with this fear? The thought of Lily seeing her father like that, of her young heart being filled with such terror, was agonizing. He needs help," Eleanor said softly, her voice filled with compassion. "Serious help, Sarah." Sarah nodded, tears streaming freely down her face now. The initial shock began to give way to a cold, hard resolve. Her perfect life was a lie, a carefully constructed facade. But her daughter's safety, her daughter's peace of mind, was not. That was real, and she would fight for it. The path ahead would be fraught with difficulty. Confronting Mark, navigating the complexities of mental health, potentially legal battles, and the emotional wreckage of a shattered marriage. But looking at Lily, who was now quietly watching her, her eyes still holding a hint of fear, but also a glimmer of hope, Sarah knew what she had to do. She reached for Lily's hand, squeezing it tightly. "It's going to be okay, my love," she whispered, her voice gaining strength. "Mommy's here, and we're going to be safe, always." The road to healing would be long and arduous, but in the quiet comfort of her mother's home, surrounded by the scent of lavender and the unwavering love of her family, Sarah found a flicker of strength. The perfect life was gone, but a new, truer one, built on honesty and courage, was waiting to begin.